everybody, Matt Coley here. Rare, direct-to-camera, unscripted video, just like the old days, just you and I here alone together, or whatever that means. Hey, this is going to be a short video. We're going to talk today about two important things. The first is our Black Friday sale on our store, where you're going to be able to get the Draw Steel rules for a little discount, but also some new Draw Steel products in the store launching today, Friday, Black Friday, which I was going to explain is the day after Thanksgiving, except you're watching this video on that day or after that, so I don't need to explain that. And not only are we going to talk about those new Draw Steel products, no spoilers, but the other half, the more interesting part of this video, it's all interesting, isn't it? The more interesting part of this video is the stuff you folks have been doing with Draw Steel. But before we get stuck into that, yes, you can get the core rules for Draw Steel, the Heroes book and the Monsters book on sale, and we throw in the PDF of the Delian Tomb for free. The Freelian Tomb. In addition to the Freelian Tomb sale, who knows how long that's going to last, get it while it's hot. We are also announcing the first new class for Draw Steel, an entire new class from scratch. This is a big PDF. It's got 60 some odd pages worth of content. It is the Summoner. It's got some dope art up there. Look at that Grace art. Look at that Summoner. And it's got fiction. You get to meet this dude, and you get to meet his Herald, which is a spoiler for the next class. But yes, this is the Summoner. This is a big deal for us. Willie busted his ass on this. This has gone through extensive testing. I got to play a very early draft of it. It was a blast. And this is predicated on the minion mechanic in Draw Steel. And as soon as we had minions, as soon as we put them in Flea Mortals, I started to think, we should be able to do something like a classic Necromancer class where you actually get to control an army, 12, an army at first level of undead. That's not the only kind of things you can summon. And I believed that that should be possible, and Willie has proved it out. There's 4 different kinds of Necromancer, 4 different subclasses in this PDF. By the way, it is, I think, $14.99, so it's basically $15 for 60 pages worth of stuff. What's in there? You get 4 subclasses, including the Necromancer, but also a Demonologist. I don't even know if that's the name of the subclass, but it's something like that. Yeah, the Demonologist who can summon demons, and also there is a Fae summoner that summons pixies and fairies, and there is an elemental summoner that summons elemental motes and stuff like that, which means this product basically comes with its own little monster manual. It's got like 50 some odd stat blocks. That's a lot. That's a lot of stat. Most of them are minions, but not all of them, because you can sort of summon fewer creatures and summon more tough creatures. And the summoner does not just summon creatures from various places. They also can sacrifice those creatures to power up their spells. So they're another spell casting class. They give you a whole other way to play Draw Steel at the table. It is super exciting. I realize it's a weird time to release a new class because people haven't got a chance to digest the classes we just released. But we thought the Summoner and the next class, which is currently in testing, the Beast Heart, we thought they might be core when we started working on Draw Steel. But of course, being dependent on the minion design and the Beast Heart being dependent on monster design, we couldn't start working on those classes until all that stuff was ironed out. And at that point, it was too late. So the Summoner we thought might be core, but yeah, now it exists and it is real. And we call it a master class. That's a term that Willie came up with just to communicate, hey, if this is your first time playing Draw Steel, maybe don't start with the Summoner because it's a little extra. Controlling up to 12 minions at first level can feel like a lot. There's also a ton of, there's so much stuff in this PDF for the Summoner that I had to ask Willie to print out a list. So you get a Summoner retainer. So if you want to recruit a Summoner ally and have them join your party, but you don't want to run an entire class, an entire second character, that's what retainers are for. So you get a Summoner retainer and rivals, retainers and rivals. So if you want to if the director wants to throw summoners at the players, but you don't want to run a whole character when you do that, there are rivals and retainers for all 4 subclasses. There's 13 new treasures for summoners and casters in general, 6 new titles, super exciting, and tons of advice for how to run a summoner and how to direct a game in which the summoner is a character. And it's super exciting. I don't think, is there anything like this in TTRPGs? Is there a class out there? Is there a class-based game with a summoner style class? If there is, I'm sure there is. There's a billion games out there, but I haven't heard of it. And I was always frustrated. Isn't it annoying when you want to play a Necromancer you want to play a necromancer and there's some kind of indication that that school of magic or subclass or whatever exists, and you get like aghast. Oh, yay. But no. It's like with the necromancer summoner, you feel like you feel like you're playing an RTS, which if you're that kind of player is awesome. So the Freelian Tomb, the Summoner, but also the first new official adventure for Draw Steel, the Fall of Blackbottom, where with this, and this is a hot start, where you and your friends get to play through the events of the first episode of the Chain of Acheron. You are in Blackbottom, and if you're, hopefully, only directors are watching this and your players aren't listening, because if your players don't know what happens in this adventure, it is epic. You start in an inn, and the inn explodes because the Hawk Lords bomb it. And your players, I was just running this for Z Bashu and his friends who were super cool. And some of them knew what happens on this day and some of them didn't. And experiencing the inn detonating and suddenly being open to the sky and seeing the Hawk Lords flying around and demons showing up to eat people is extraordinary. It is a hot start. Now, it is a little weird, I admit, to release an adventure. This is a new first level adventure. So it's an adventure. Our language is a quest is 5 or 6 victories, about a third of a level. An adventure is all 16 victories, everything you need to level up, maybe more than 16 victories if there are branches and stuff like that. And then a campaign is a multi-level adventure. The Fall of Blackbottom is a real adventure, but it is a first level adventure. So it's like now we have 2 first level adventures. We have the Delian Tomb, and this is why we did it. We have the Delian Tomb for people who are like, I don't know anything about Draw Steel. It sounds cool. I don't know anything about the rules. I don't know what a power roll is. The Delian Tomb walks you through all that. It explains everything as you go. The Fall of Blackbottom is a first level adventure for people who are like, yeah, I know all that. I watched all the videos. I watched the streams. I'm in the Discord. Gimme. And you just want to get started with the most exciting first level opening we could think of. And this is it. And there's all sorts of cool stuff that happens in the Fall of Blackbottom. You get to meet all kinds of cool characters. Also in the store, hey, let's talk about dice for a second. Those of you who wanted to get the Delian Tomb dice box set, this is a $24.98 box of dice. It's about this big. And it comes with a set of Draw Steel dice, which are the Jor dice, which are 20-sided dice labeled 1 to 10 twice, and a D3, which is a D6 labeled 1 to 3 twice. And it comes with a free digital copy of the Delian Tomb, which is mostly the reason why you would want to buy it. But we hope in the future, sometime next year, to just have the regular dice in the store. But if you just want the dice and you enjoy getting the Delian Tomb for free, these are available on ChessX's site. Also on our site, you can still get the Good King Omund box, which is like 5 sets of dice. This is a limited edition. These are going, gone. They were available for, I think, $150 if you backed it in the crowdfunder. It's $160 normally. It's a lot of money, but these are specialized dice. These are unique dice that we make just for, these are the Jor dice and the D3s. And let's take a look at them actually, because they're really nice ChessX dice. And this is what's inside, and this is no dice. Because this is the version we trolled Matt O'Driscoll with. Hang on a second. These are what you will get if you order these dice. I know it's a lot of money, but you get a lot of dice. And it come with, also we made unique new titles. There is a QR code in here you can scan. I'm not going to show you. You got to buy the dice to scan the QR code. There's a QR code you can scan in here that takes you to a list of the titles that some of the iconic heroes have. But otherwise, yeah, these are the dice, and it comes with these 2. This is really where the money goes, right? These are really nice dice, but these are the director dice, and these are the 3D printed Good King Omund dice, and they are really in here because we don't want them to. And it's not perfectly obvious unless you look closely, but there is a 3D printed replica in this die of Good King Omund's shield, including you can read the Good King Omund's motto. So yes, these are available limited stock in our store. The ChessX dice on the ChessX site. We love working with ChessX. I have been in the hobby since the 1900s. And the idea of working with ChessX just brings me deep and great joy. So yeah, the Freelian Tomb, which is a discount on the core rules, and you get the Delian Tomb PDF for free. The Summoner, a brand new class for Draw Steel that I think people are going to be pretty excited about. And an entirely new, really beefy adventure. It's like 64 pages, I think. 84. It's 84 pages. The Fall of Blackbottom is 84 pages long. It is a real adventure. There's lots of cool stuff to do in it, but there is something even more exciting happening at MCDM. How could that be? How could anything more exciting than the summer and the Fall of Blackbottom? An entire city explodes. Yes, and that is, today is the day that we send our patrons the codes for the Codex, which is remember the crowdfunder where we said if we raise enough money, we're going to make our own VTT? Hey, we are doing that. It exists. The patrons get to be our alpha testers, and they're all going to get codes. You're going to get, like, I think 6 codes so that you and 5 of your friends can get in and play. And it is extraordinary. In fact, what I would like is a video to go right here that fills the whole screen, showing off. Let's take a look at, I know it's crazy, but let's take a look at the Fall of Blackbottom, because they've implemented it, at least they've implemented the beginning of it. I don't know if this is going to be available for patrons. Patrons are going to get the Delian Tomb, but they've already started implementing the Fall of Blackbottom, so you can see in all the fact that the Codex has parallax, so you can see each level stacked on top of the other, and there's all these particle effects and stuff. It's extraordinary. Playing in the Codex, I was just running, like I said, for Z Bashu and his friends, and it was the first time playing Drawsteel. It was the first time using the Codex, and I was worried that they were going to be overwhelmed. Brand new game system, brand new piece of software, and it's a software very much still got lots of, rough edges that need to be sanded off. And so I was always constantly worried that they were going to be overwhelmed, but they were like, no, this is great. We like this, actually. And they pointed out to me, the Codex helps us learn the game because it knows things we don't know. And we go, oh, I get an edge on that. Oh, cool. And so that was actually really cool and fun. And it's just an extraordinary product that we are really, really lucky to be partnered with the folks at DM Hub. We like them. We like working with them. They're super professional. They're fast, like coming off of AAA video games. Watching them, I have been live streaming on Twitch using the Codex, and I would complain about some bug. Oh, why didn't this work? And Denivarius, the lead dev, just is he goes, give me a minute. And I'm like, huh? What? And I just keep going. And, like, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes later, this has happened a couple of times. This isn't like a feature. It's just a thing that happened. He goes, hey, hit F5. And I hit F5 and the bug is fixed. I was like, oh my God, wow. We didn't have to have a meeting and then put it in Jira or any of that stuff. It's amazing. So yes, the Codex is now available for all patrons. Get excited. We don't know when the first release build will come out, but we're targeting sometime like next July. That's not a promise. It's a hope. So yeah, this is one hell of a Black Friday discount on the Drawsteel rules. Probably every Black Friday will do that. The Summoner, a whole new class, the Fall of Blackbottom, a new epic adventure, and the Codex to patrons. Are you kidding me? What else could be there to talk about? Well, the best part of this video, the part that I'm excited by, because I've already read all that stuff and worked on all that stuff. That's all that. The stuff I'm excited by is the stuff you folks have been doing. I originally thought there was going to be a whole other video all by itself called the Community Creations video. But then I thought, hang on a minute, let's roll these two things together so that people get to see not only what we've been working on, but what you've been working on, and each of them can sort of act as a force multiplier for the other. I asked Durok, the king of the mods, to just make a list of all the third-party stuff that he's basically heard of and that has gained some notoriety. So this list is by no means exhaustive. You should check out in our Discord, there's a whole flotilla of Drawsteel channels. There is a creations channel that will help you find stuff like when my friend Brock was running for us. We play on Wednesday nights, and it's crazy. I've never had this experience with any game where I ran it. Hey, I'm going to run Drawsteel with you folks. And then Matt O'Driscoll wanted to run, and so I got to play. And then Brock wanted to run, and now he's running. And I think Phil's going to run. It's crazy. Lars is running for his friends. I played a lot of games, but it's been basically since the 80s where, I would say like Deadlands was probably the last time any group of mine got this excited by a game and everybody suddenly wanted to run it. So that is super cool. Brock needed a cloaker. And so there isn't a cloaker in the core rules. I'm sure there will be at some, Monsters 2, whenever that happens. But he just went online and found somebody had made a cloaker and he grabbed it and it worked great. So check out that channel if you're looking for little bite-sized things like that people make. I think these projects tend to be a little bigger and more epic, and I'm just going to go down the list. I have a kind of a rule about this stuff. Not everybody here feels this way, but I try to avoid looking at third-party stuff stuff for a lot of reasons. And the number one reason is if I'm noodling on some draw steel idea, and we all are noodling on ideas all the time about this game, and I kind of believe in it and I think, yeah, this could be how this future class could work. And then I look, like a good example is, it's probably on here, there's a third-party class that's someone's version of an acolyte. Like they had their own idea for what being an acolyte would be about. And they created the Vessel. And I think they went to crowdfunding on it. I think the Vessel might be a better name than the acolyte, right? But we are working kind of on the back burner on our own class, the Acolyte, which is sort of like a warlock, sort of like Elric, Ariok, aid me, using your force of personality to get the gods to listen to you. And I don't want to open up the Vessel and go, oh, actually, that's the same idea that we had. Because even though it was independently, I came up with an idea, the person who came up with the class came up with an idea. Once our version comes out, everyone's going to say, well, you stole that from this. And I don't want to cross the streams like that. We all want to encourage and support our community because there is no MCDM or Draw Steel without this community. But I don't necessarily want to end up with multiple different versions of the same idea in my head and have to tease out which one was ours and which one came from the community. So I'm just going to go down the list. It's up to you to figure out which ones of these are awesome and which ones you want. And that's what ultimately we need tastemakers like that to say, I played this is what I thought. There is a Foundry module for Draw Steel. We see people using it all the time. There's an adventure, I think this is from the Dice Society, who we're going to hear about later. There's an adventure called, this is a starter adventure. I genuinely think this is a killer title for a starter adventure. You meet in an ambush. That sounds like a hot start to me. I love that. There's a tool in here that you have probably already used. If you're watching this video, you probably already know about this. Forge Steel, which is a character creator. It has everything that's open, so it doesn't have the summoner yet, and it won't for a while. We're planning on opening the summoner sometime next year. And it's invaluable. And in fact, I believe there was a plugin for the Codex. Obviously, if you're a patron, this is useful. There was a plugin for the Codex that let you upload your Forge Steel file. So you make your character in Forge Steel and it can just be in the Codex. But I think that they just implemented that as a feature, so you don't have to download the module anymore. So Forge Steel, everybody uses it. It's great. It's free. It's just this free thing that this person makes to make your life easier when you're playing Draw Steel. There's a I don't even know what this is. There's this Draw Steel player board, which is it's an STL file. It's a 3D, by the way, this document, I'm just going to put a link to it. It's got URLs in it that you will be able to click on if you're interested in any of this stuff. I probably should have said that at the beginning of the video, but we're only 3 or 4 entries in. There's a Draw Steel player board, which is a 3D printable board to track all your stuff on. Oh, I get it. Because it's going to let you track stuff like hero tokens and malice, or that would be a DM board, or, like your Wrath. I'm playing a Censor, of course I am. So I've got Wrath on the mind. Draw Steel Elements Obsidian plugin. I don't know what Obsidian is, unless it is that one website that I used to use a million years ago for managing your campaign. But regardless of what it is, there is a Draw Steel Elements plugin for it. And this looks like, this is cool. Masterful Smithing. It's just blacksmithing treasures, 30 trinkets it's not just treasures, 30 trinkets and treasures and a retainer, a blacksmith retainer, I'm guessing, and more, all themed around blacksmithing. I love that. I love the idea. This is what it's about. People have cool ideas about all sorts of things you can do in and with Draw Steel, and they're sticking it in here. And then, of course, there's Stall, which isn't Stall, hopefully Jerry isn't Stall from the same dude who does the Goblin Points?
John Denor.
So yeah, it is. Yeah. So Stall, STAWL. There's a link in the doc, which is sort of it's sort of like the combat manager from 4th edition, which I couldn't live without. It was so useful when I was running. But it's a piece of software that lets you build encounters, save them, modify them, share them, I don't know, and run them at the table. So you can group bad guys into different initiative groups, however you want, and it'll track conditions and stuff like that for you. It's great. It's super useful. Brock is using it, right? And it's every once in a while he finds a bug and he goes, I get to report a bug. And the dude is super responsive to bug requests, both Stall and Forge Steel. The folks who run that are incredibly responsive to what the user, not just bugs, but features that the users want. Somebody has made a tool for making Draw Steel ability cards. That's a very popular request. Hey, can we get cards? And it's like, we didn't design the abilities to fit on cards. So we don't have any plans to make draw steel cards right now. We might do that in the future, but for now, you can just check this out. Oh, this sounds cool. Steel Cauldron. What a great name. Online tool for viewing monsters, homebrewing monsters, and building encounters. I love the fact that there's multiple tools now that start to overlap in functionality, because then we get the best versions of all of them and people see, oh, that people seem to like that feature. We should implement it in our thing. That's great. More is better. Oh, there's a plugin, at least one, I think maybe more than one plugin for draw steel in Owlbear Rodeo, which is before the Codex. That's how we would do our own internal testing with remote employees, is we would use Owlbear Rodeo, and there were a while ago there were draw steel plugins, so it knows what a power roll is, it knows what tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 is, which is really super useful, very light. Owlbear Rodeo is a great, simple, quick and dirty VTT, and it's free. What is this? The Scion, a Spellblade class. Okay, Scion, S-C-I-O-N, not P-S-I-O-N. Scion as in the inheritor of a great dynasty or whatever. The Scion blends martial prowess with arcane Everybody wants a Gish, right? Everybody wants a wizard that can use a sword or whatever. And people who are, draw steel fans are like, there's already a bunch of kits and stuff. People are like, that's not what I want. I want a class that does, and it's like, all right, here you go. Somebody has made one of those. We might make one of those in the future, but it's not on the short list. Draw steel templates, professionally built, a set of layout paragraph. Wow. Holy crap. Draw steel templates, professionally built set of layouts, paragraph styles, and shapes for InDesign, Affinity, and Google Docs. So you can make your own draw steel stuff that looks good and looks nice. And that's probably why we put the all the icons we use. Didn't we put those into the license, Jerry? They have been released, but they're in the Creative Commons license. So yeah, same thing, basically. Same distance, same difference. So yeah, knock yourself out. You can make your stuff look nice using these templates. That's amazing. Character Sheet Toolkit, Google Sheets-based character sheet builder plus so there's a Google Sheet version of a character builder. And back in the day, I can speak for many, many people. There was I called it the executive character sheet. And in my old videos, people were like, would see it and they'd be like, what's that? And it was a character builder for D20 Fantasy, and it was really powerful. And we loved it. So I love seeing these kind of DIY spreadsheet versions of tools for making characters. There's a Fantasy Grounds Unity Draw Steel rules set. Fantasy Grounds was the VTT I used for many, many years. There's the compendium, the Steel Compendium, which is free, and it's all of the open text, which is all of the text. The whole book is open, so people come into the Discord, I see it every day, and they ask questions about how, because they haven't bought the book yet, and people are like, just go look in the compendium, and that's where the answer is. So somebody made, this is the next thing on the list, somebody has made their own homebrew version of the Gaul, the G-O-L, which are a second species of human in Orden. They're sort of like Neanderthals or Denisovians, right? It's a second species of human that exist in our setting, and you hear about them, and we are working on our own official version for next year. That's going to be part of the Ancestry book, but you can check it out now. You can check out, and I love the idea that here's one someone came up with, and then ours is going to come out, and people can compare them and decide which they like better, and maybe even go, I like this part of this, and I like this part of this. It's great. Weapons of Legend. 50 leveled weapon treasures. Wow. There's probably a couple of good ones in there. That's a lot. 50 leveled. I want to open this up and look at it myself. Oh, I have seen people talking about this adventure and it looks amazing. The Great Thaw of Grisomthrak Spire. That's a dragon name if I ever heard one. Level 1 adventure in which the heroes confront an ancient evil. It's the best kind of evil. To stop an impending climate disaster. Is this? I think I know who that ancient evil is. And then, oh, hey, look at this. Somebody has made elementalist subclasses for ice and lightning. Love that. Love that. Somebody should use these and let me know if they're any good, because that sounds awesome. Now there's a whole bunch of these, which I think are all part of the same project. There was like a community homebrew game jam that a bunch of community members invented and participated in. And the theme was Treasures of the Timescape. And it was a whole bunch of magic items, rewards that are unique to the upper worlds of the Timescape. Maybe not just the upper worlds. What do I know? And there's a bunch here. Memories of the North Wind. 3 treasures for the wintry north of Vanagar. So it's not just the upper worlds. Haha, I'm so happy. Solgado's Master Chef Tools. 3 level treasures designed with the adventuring chef in mind. As that's for those of you who are fans of Delicious in Dungeon, I suspect. Gifts of the Coven, 3 level treasures for draw steel that can be crafted using the knitting needles of different kinds of hags. That's awesome. The bands of Bristopet. No, that can't be right. Bristpotet. The bands of Bristpotet. That's the best kind of potet. 3 treasures that focus on movement. Oh, interesting. Make your character more kinetic. Sounds like something useful for basically every. Apparel of the Brawler. Treasures inspired by movies like Monkey Man. I saw that movie. I liked it. I don't know that it was a good movie, but I had fun. The Raid. I love The Raid. Nobody and is it Sisu or Sishu? Shisu? Sisu. That is a movie, and indeed a word I have never heard of. The Apparel of the Brawler. So these are all and there's a bunch more. These are just the ones that John grabbed because they looked cool or people had been talking about them. But there was a whole game jam just about Treasures of the Timescape. I hope they do more stuff like that. That's amazing. There is a Draw Steel Director's Shield, which is I presume it's a director screen that somebody has made. There will be an official Draw Steel director screen, but there isn't yet. This I have definitely heard of. To Defy the Stars. This is an adventure, a high-stakes spacefaring quest for 4 to 6 7th level heroes. 7th level heroes. So this is the thing about the Codex is you could just make it. Well, I don't know, actually. I don't actually know. Maybe you can't. I was going to say I think they've only been focusing on Echelon 1. I'm not sure. Can you just make a 7th level character? But it doesn't matter. You could do it in Owlbear Rodeo. You could do it at your table. Just use Forged Steel and make 7th level characters for this adventure. I think that would be extraordinary. So yeah, it's got a great cover too. It's super cool. Fantastic Fletchery. I can guess what this is. Adventures, accessories. Titles and treasures and titles for archers, arrow consumables, kits, titles, etc. Love that. The first coolest magic item I ever got as a player was my dungeon master gave me, because he knew I was into archery. My friend John gave my character 5 unique arrows in first edition D&D that I coveted, and they were so cool. So I love seeing any kind of fletchery, archery related nonsense. Tomb of the Crescent Moon. That sounds like an adventure. It is. Adventure for 3rd level. People are already making adventures, and folks, the best ecology is one where you folks go and check those adventures out and ideally run them and give feedback and develop opinions about which of these creators are making the kind of stuff that you like, right? Because then more ecologies forms and the community grows. It's brilliant. Monstrosities Volume 1. Oh yeah, because there's everybody wants more monsters, right? And there's certain category of monsters like oozes, for instance. That's why we put oozes in the Delian Tomb, is because people are like, where's the oozes? So we're like, all right, that's fine. Okay, fine. Right? So this is stuff like Displacer Beasts, Hook Horrors, and Hulks. Just a Hulk, like Bruce Banner Hulk, with malice, lore, and magic items. I already love that. So the little tiny monster book, it sounds like. On the Edge, a variant kits supplement. Oh, I get it. Edge as in blades. Yeah. Variant signature abilities to the game's core kits. What a killer idea. So like if you have the Rediaris kit, or what was it, the Guizamir kit, I love or the Panther kit, you could have an alternate signature ability to choose from. I think that's a great idea. Why not? I would like to see more abilities for all the core classes. Why should these be the only ones that exist? But that's the future. Angels in Draw Steel. One of the most popular questions I get is, where are the angels? And I think there must be some, right? Because if you read my novels, you know that Hayden can call upon a dominion, right? There's gods and there's saints, but there's other servants. The saints were once mortals. There are other servants that the saints are hanging out with that can be dispatched. So that presumably they must exist somewhere. Well, here are some. Angelic and what? An angelic, you can play an angel. A+. Angelic ancestry and a platoon of angel creatures. Man, I wish I didn't work here, so I could read this stuff and use it. This is amazing. Red caps, fairies, and bargests. Some fey monsters, A+. Everybody loves a good fey monster. Windblight Moat. Here's a couple of just monsters. Windblight Moat, a wind elemental monster, and a Hydra. Just a Hydra. There isn't one in the core rulebooks, and people need them. This actually is amazing to me because it's sort of also a diagnostic tool that you could use to figure out, what do people need? Well, one of the things they need is more monsters. Complete Harpies. This is amazing, including lore, tactics, malice abilities, various Harpy stat blocks and treasures. Man, what do you guys need us for? A refugee's guide to Nomus, the psionic city. There's a whole city supplement. This is the first time I'm reading this list, in case I couldn't notice. This supplement contains factions, districts, and NPCs to help directors run their own games in a psionic city. That sounds amazing. Do they have a Discord? I want to join it. Scions, I've heard of this. Yes, I love this. This is one of the first. This was actually, some of these have gone to crowdfunding and crowdfunded. Very modest crowdfunders, like a couple $100, $1,000. But these guys funded, as far as I know. Scions of Blood and Shadow, a vampire class. And I love that. I love the idea of vampires as a class. And people in the community, when this was announced, they were like, well, but isn't vampire more like an ancestry? And I was like, wait, hang on a minute. Who says it can't be both? Like, both options should exist depending on how you are intending on instantiating vampires. And probably if you run long enough, you're going to want both, right? You're going to want vampire as an ancestry and vampire as a class. Why not? I think it's a great idea. So yes, Scions of Blood and Shadow. Check it out. Ratcatcher Magazine. There's a whole zine. Great name. There's a whole zine and it comes out. There's a couple of issues of it. I think there's a couple of zines, actually. This is one of them. Let's see if we get to the other one. Drawsteel Zine mimics flower folk, ancestries, monsters, and more. People ask, when is Arcadia coming back? And it's like, Arcadia was a third-party product for someone else's game. So what do you mean, when is Arcadia coming back? Whenever somebody decides to do it. What would a third-party zine for Drawsteel look like? Well, it might look like Ratcatcher Magazine, or the other one that I don't see in here, which I think is the Blacksmith's Guild. So that's another zine, and I think they're semi-pro zines. I think they pay their people. So they're not. It's not literally an amateur press association kind of zine. These guys are serious. This, I think, is crazy to me that some of the people behind these, I recognize their username from before there was even MCDM, back when it was just running the game. And that journey that these people have been on, where they're like, D&D sounds cool, I want to run it. That bugbear looks like he knows what he's talking about. This is cool. I like these videos. Oh, look, there's a company now and they make books for D&D and I like them. And oh, they've made a game. And it's awesome and I love it. And now I'm going to make stuff for it. And now I'm going to crowdfunding and we crowdfunded. That journey is that, I think that journey is almost as, if not more crazy, as the one I've been on. Like, that's unbelievable to me. Yeah, Boggets of Kingsmire, a swampy supplement for Drawsteel. It is a supplement. This was one of, I think, the biggest crowdfunders yet. They did, it was in pounds or euros, so it was kind of hard to figure out what the total value would be in dollars, but it was really successful on crowdfunding. A supplement centered around a race of frog folk called Boggets and the swamps they live in. Yeah, a new ecology with all the stuff you would expect to find there. That's amazing. Hopefully they get to make more stuff like that. Of course, Pesto has a kobold ancestry. Pesto has probably done a ton of kobold stuff. Pesto Enthusiast is our lead tester, and he designed the kobolds for Flea Mortals. And of course, we brought them into Drawsteel, and he's got his own imprint, and he's making all sorts of stuff. So check out the kobold ancestry from Pesto, and anything that guy's doing, his stuff is good. A Cave of Amber Tears. I think this also might have gone to crowdfunding. This is an adventure, and it's inspired by Norse myth and folklore, drawing on elements from the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda. Where have I heard of those before? I actually have. Dr. Jackson Crawford has his own new, I should have brought it with me, his own new translation of the Prose Edda, or the Poetic Edda. I don't remember which one. And I started reading it. This is because I follow Dr. Crawford more for linguistic stuff. I haven't ever actually read the Prose Edda or the Poetic Edda, and I started reading it because he sent it to me, and it's really cool. So I'm going to finish it. So yeah, the Cave of Amber Tears. I think as of the recording of this video, they just finished crowdfunding, or they're about to finish. So by the time you're watching, it'll already be done, or the crowdfunder will be done. Sabotage. This is a retainer, a class and a retainer. The Saboteur is a new class that focuses on utilizing explosives, poisons, blackmail. This is amazing. Is this a mundane? Because people crave more non-magical options. And we would like them to have those, but we got stuff to do. Yeah, the Saboteur. I love that. That's amazing. A whole new class. Yep, makes sense. And you get a retainer. And there's a couple of podcasts. There's Don't Shout Mimic. Don't Shout Mimic in a crowdfunded tavern. I get it. Yep. There we go. That's one podcast. Goblin Points is a podcast that's been around for a long time. And if you don't know, Malice, originally every creature's malice, there was going to be Goblin Points was for goblins and Vampire Points were for vampires. And it would say, here's how you can spend your vampire points. But I kind of fell in love with the idea of calling all of them Goblin Points. So the universal director resource would be Goblin Points. But Yeah, that wouldn't fly. So we came up with Malice, but the original name was, Goblin Points. That's a classic podcast, been around for a long time. And Don't Shout Mimic, I haven't heard of, but hopefully they're new and doing well. Heroic Tools, links to various community creators and tools. Okay, so there's some kind of database that is a link to other community creators. Also, don't forget that I mentioned this earlier. Don't forget to check the Discord. Almost done. The Dice Society podcast, classic. And I think the Dice Society dude is doing something new. I don't remember what it was. Check it out. And then Rise Heroes Rise. Rise Heroes Rise is sort of the premier live play for Draw Steel. They have shorts, whole games. They run tons of stuff. They ran an entire session where they just made 10th level characters to fight Ajax. Rise Heroes Rise were some of the first people to be active players in the community streaming their game. And it's great. I enjoy watching it. I have fun sitting there. I don't normally enjoy watching the live play stuff, but I really like them. They seem to have a lot of fun. Hooked on Crafting. This supplement gives directors a flavorful quest hook and suggested encounter for each item So it starts with the item prerequisites in the game for crafting in Draw Steel. And then this gives you quest hooks and encounters for them. That's brilliant. It's one of those things that when we were designing the crafting system, we were like, this is super cool, but it needs more content. It needs adventure content and stuff like that to really support it. And we want to do that. But we also thought in the back of our heads, we're like, well, if people like the idea of the crafting system, but they wish there was more of this, the game is open. They can make stuff for it. And they are hooked on crafting. And then last thing is people are translating the game. The game is open. People are translating it into lots of different languages. Somebody, Dima Jadar, has already translated the, which version of the rules was it? Is it basically the Delian Tomb version? It's some reduced instruction set version of the core rules in Ukrainian. And I was like, that's amazing. There's Portuguese, there's people translating it into basically, French, Italian, German, Spanish. Figs is what they used to call it when I was a localization producer. But yeah, that's amazing. And the reason we bring these up is I don't think, with the possible exception of the Ukrainian one, and it was pointed out to me, it wasn't the entire rule set, it was just sort of the combat section, I think. These folks need help. Many of them need help and need volunteers translating this stuff. And the text of the game is open, so anybody can work on it. If we closed our eyes 2 years ago and imagined what Draw Steel could be in terms of how it is received, this is what we were imagining. Sales, we want sales. Yes, obviously we want people to buy the game and enjoy it and talk about it to their friends. But for us, a critical marker of success was, do people make stuff with it? And what do they make? And there is some extraordinary stuff in there. The Acolyte, the vessel wasn't even in there. There's some extraordinary things happening in the community. I think it's the best community in gaming. I really think that. As soon as the license came out, as soon as Draw Steel, July 31st, as soon as the game came out with the license, we immediately saw people who'd been sitting on their community creations and released it. And I was worried, and I guess I still am a little worried, but there's nothing I can do about it, that it was too much too soon, that there wasn't any audience, that we were going to get a whole bunch of people making stuff for Draw Steel, but there wasn't an audience for it yet because the community of Draw Steel players needs time to grow. And I was worried mostly that these creators would get frustrated because they work really hard on something and they believe in it and they're excited by this new game and they put it out and who knows what kind of reception they get. But the reality is, it seems like people are using the stuff. Brock is downloading all this cool stuff. He's just a regular Draw Steel player, just like any other director, and he goes online looking for stuff and he finds all this stuff and is excited by it. So yeah, there's a lot happening right now. There's a whole bunch of stuff being crowdfunded right now. And I do worry that these folks are going to flame out early, right? That the Draw Steel community is growing and building it over time. And how do you know that now is the time to get started? But then I thought, but what's going to happen is they're going to put it out. They're going to see some kind of reaction. And they're going to learn from it. They're going to go, okay, maybe this was too early. Maybe this is too much too fast. But we're seeing the sales and we're selling tons of copies every day. So I don't know how much appetite there is right now for third-party creations, but there's definitely some. And that appetite is growing. So hang in there, folks. That's it, folks. Next video from us is going to be a video about sort of the fate of the game. And are we base, common, or popular? Because the next video is going to be Crack the Sun and everything else we've been working on. And it's a lot. Until then, peace out.